G'day everyone, it's Warren from NQ Explorers. Another short ATX video today. I'm not in the goldfields, as you can see. The reason being that it's the wet season in North Queensland and there's no access to the goldfields up here. They're pretty much, the streams are all up and the tracks are closed. So I just thought I'd do a little demo video today on the ATX with regard to discrimination. If you're an experienced detectorist and you've done a lot of work with either VLF or PIs, you're not going to learn anything here, but if this is your first detector, I know a lot of people are buying them as their first prospecting detector. It's interesting to understand the way that the discrimination works on a pulse machine. It's actually when you discriminate on this machine, you're actually changing the pulse delay. That's the time that the machine reads the return pulse from the time when it detects a target. So on a small low conductive target such as small gold, the pulse will decay very quickly. So if you put in a little bit of discrimination, and all that does is open the time gap up, and you will not read a quickly decaying target. So it's discriminated out basically. Now a piece of silver, for example, a large coin, a florin or a shilling or anything like that, will not decay quickly at all. So you can put in quite a bit of discrimination, in other words increase the delay time on the pulse reading, and you'll still pick the target up. So what I'm going to do now is just demonstrate how that works on a couple of gold nuggets and an Australian threepence coin, because I know a lot of you blokes use these things on beaches or relic hunt with them anyway. You might be detecting, prospecting and stumble on an old timers camp and you do a bit of relic hunting. Beauty of this with the iron check and all those discrimination features, you can do that. And the other thing you've got to remember is your threshold. I've been asked a few questions about setting threshold. Just remember that if you set your threshold too low, and especially if you're on the internal speaker, and it's a bit noisy. It may not be noisy in the bush, you wouldn't think, but if there's a bit of wind in the trees and things like that, you have trouble listening to the audio properly, and you won't hear little bumps in the audio. It could be small, deep targets, or large deep targets, very deep targets for that matter. So threshold, you want to make sure you set that so it's a faint audible hum. Ideally you want to use headphones. Often it's too hot for headphones in Australia, I understand that, and I'd prefer to use the internal speaker myself. But you must be able to hear that threshold, because if you can't hear the threshold, you won't hear any variations in the threshold, which could be potential targets. These are my three demonstration targets. On the left is a 4 gram gold nugget. In the centre is a 2.4 gram gold nugget with quite a bit of ironstone in there, as you can see. On the right is a 1910 sterling silver Australian threepence coin. The reason I've got the threepence there is that's the smallest silver coin that you'd reasonably be looking for in Australia in a relic hunting situation on a beach or an old ghost town or anywhere, or a park. So let's have a look at the response of the machine on those three targets, with and without discrimination. Okay, here we go with the ground test. Three targets from left to right. I have the 4 gram nugget, the 2.4 gram nugget, and a 1910 sterling silver Australian threepence. I've left the call cover on. That does obscure the target as I swing across it, but that's how you'd use it in the bush. And I'm going to try to maintain my coil spring height at around 8 or 9 inches. I know it's an air test and pulse machines aren't real good in the air, but just bear with me on that. We'll try to get some consistency across the targets and demonstrate how the discrimination affects it. So here's the 4 gram gold nugget. Nice clean signal, no problems. You've got a 2.4 gram in the middle here. And on the right we've got the sterling silver Australian threepence. Notice that's a low high tone because it's a high conductive target being silver. Now what I'll do, I'll just let's dial in a bit of discrimination. So it's just a shift function. I'll put it up on 6. That's a fairly high bit of discrimination, but you might need to use that on a salt beach, or you might need in a salt lake in WA. I have detected salt lakes in WA with this machine. I found around a 4 or 5 discrimination. Yes, you're going to sacrifice depth, but the lake's detectable, the ground's detectable. Same on the ironstone areas over there on the ironstone beaches. But let's see what difference that makes with a 5 or 6 discrim at roughly the same height on the same three targets. Okay, that's the 4 grammer. Definitely a fainter signal. As you can see, you've in effect what you've done there is lost depth, because you will only get that target at that signal strength at a much shallower depth. Now the 2.4 in the middle, still there. You dig it, it's two ways, but it's a much fainter signal with that discrimination dialed in. Now the threepence, interesting, when you dial in the discrimination, the target response changes from a low high to a high low. That's still diggable. That's typical of what you might need to do on a saltwater beach, and that of course is the smallest silver coin that you'd be detecting for in Australia if you're relic hunting. Okay, so that's the 3 targets on the ground. Well, I hope you found that short video informative. Nothing groundbreaking there, but it's just an understanding of the discrimination feature to me, is necessary to have success in the goldfields. The other thing you've got to remember too, if you did dial in any discrimination, or even reduce sensitivity, your coil swing height is critical. Now a lot of our goldfields, or goldfields anywhere, they're not going to be like billiard tables. You're going to have rocks and you're going to have gullies and you're going to have variations in your ground. Rarely can you swing the coil or scuff it on the ground unless you're in a very large flat area with few surface obstructions. So every little bit of discrimination you dial in or sensitivity you back off is going to sacrifice depth and may cause you to miss a target. Anyway, best of luck out there with your new ATX, and happy hunting. Bye for now.